Today we're gonna make this plant hanger. It's easy and customizable. You can use any yarn size, any hook size you want. To start, we're just gonna be making a granny square base. There are chapters, so if you already know how to make a granny square, you can skip to whatever part you want. So let's get started.
The base is just a basic granny square that you work up until it's big enough to cover the bottom of your pot, like this. You can see it's just a little bigger than the bottom. Leaving a long tail, start by making a slip knot. Now we're going to insert our hook and chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now we're going to slip stitch into the first chain that we made. Yarn over and pull through. And now we've made a little ring. Now we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. And now we're going to wrap this yarn around like this, just so that it's like a more secured tail. And we're going to make a double crochet into the chain space. Not any of the chains, but right into the center of this little chain space. And we're also going to be going around this tail. So yarn over, insert your hook into the chain space, go past the tail, yarn over, pull through all that, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over and pull through 2. And now we have made our first double crochet into the ring. Let's make another one. Yarn over, insert into the chain 5 ring, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2 more. And now we're going to chain 1, 2. And now we're going to make 3 more double crochets. So here is 1 double crochet, here is 2 double crochets, and here is the 3rd double crochet. Now chain 2 again, 1, 2, and make 3 more double crochets. 1, 2, 3, chain 2 again, 1, 2, make 3 more double crochets, 1, 2, 3, chain 2 again, 1, 2, and now we're going to slip stitch into the first chain 3 we made into the top chain, so you can count up 1, 2, 3, and this will be where we make our slip stitch. Just insert your hook, yarn over, and pull through. And this is the first row of our granny square plant hanger. Now to start round 2, we're going to slip stitch towards this chain space. So I'm going to insert my hook into the top of this double crochet, yarn over, and pull through all of it. I'm going to go into the next double crochet, yarn over, pull through everything, and now we're going to slip stitch into the chain space, yarn over, pull through everything. And now that we've made it to the chain space, we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3. Now we're going to make 2 double crochets by yarning over, inserting your hook into the chain space, pulling up a loop, yarning over, going through 2 loops, yarning over and going through 2 more loops. Let's make another double crochet the same way. Now we're going to chain 2, and we're going to make 3 more double crochets in the same space. And this is like our corner stitch basically of the granny square. And now we're going to chain 1 and do another corner in another chain space. So we start by making 3 double crochets. 1, 2, 3. We chain 2, 1, 2, and we make 3 more double crochets in the same space. 1, 2, 3, and then we chain 1, and we do another corner in here and another corner in here. 1, 2, 3, chain 1, 2, double crochet, 1, 2, 3, chain 1, double crochet, 1, 2, 3, chain 1, 2, double crochet, 1, 2, 3, chain 1, and now we're going to slip stitch into this top chain stitch here. 1, 2, 3. Insert your hook into that and pull through, and there was round 2. Now just 2 rounds was big enough for both of these guys, made in the worsted weight yarn, so you could skip ahead to building up the balls, but this is looking a little small for this, so we're going to do one more base round for this one in the smaller yarn. We're going to start round 3 of our granny square base by slip stitching to the next chain space. Now I'm slip stitching into the chain space, and now we're going to chain 3 and do our corner, which will be the same as the corner we did here. So 1, 2, 3, and make 2 double crochets. Chain 2, 1, 2, and make 3 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, chain 1, and make 3 double crochets into this chain 1 space. 1, 2, 3, chain 1, do another corner stitch by making 3 double crochets in here. 1, 2, 3, chain 2, 1, 2, make 3 more double crochets in this chain space, 1, 2, 3, chain 1, make 3 double crochets into the chain 1 space, 1, 2, 3, chain 1, and continue around. I'll meet you after this. Once you're around, slip stitch into this chain here. You can count up 1, 2, 3. Pull through everything. You can see that this is big enough to cover the bottom. You want to go a little bigger versus going too small for these. So you can see it goes a little past it. It's fitting good. So we're going to start the walls. But you can continue your granny square until it's big enough to cover your pot for whatever yarn hook size you're using. Just keep making 3 double crochets in the chain 1 spaces and then doing your big corner in the corner spaces. But we're going to move on to the walls. Now we're going to start building up the walls with round 4. So again, slip stitch until you reach a chain space, which will be this first corner. I'm slip stitching into the corner space. Now I'm going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and I'm just going to work 2 more double crochets in here into the chain space. So here's 1, and here is 2. And now I'm going to chain 1, and I'm going to work 3 double crochets into the next chain space, which is a chain 1 space. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to chain 1 and work 3 double crochets into this chain 1 space. 1, 2, 3, chain 1, and do the same thing in the corner stitches. Work 3 double crochets into the corner chain space. 1, 2, 3. Now chain 1 and work 3 double crochets in the next chain space. And we're just going to, keep doing this around, working 3 double crochets in every chain space and then chaining 1. So I will meet you at the end. Okay, I've done my last 3 double crochets in chain 1, and now I'm going to slip stitch into the top of this chain 3. So 1, 2, 3, and slip stitch. And that is round 4, which is the start of building up our wall. Now round 5 and onward, you're going to be doing the same thing. So you'll slip stitch to your first chain 1 space. You'll chain 3, 1, 2, 3. You'll make 2 double crochets, since that chain 3 will count as a double crochet. Oops. Then you'll chain 1, and then you'll work 3 double crochets in here, chain 1, 3 double crochets in here, all the way around, and you'll keep building up your base until it is as big as you want for your pot. So let's test this out. And I think they look cute going all the way up the pot, going only halfway up the pot. It's really up to you for what you want. I think this one going almost all the way up is as tall as I want it. So once you're here, we're going to move on to part 3 of the tutorial, which is the hangers. And there's multiple variations of this. I'm going to show you what I did for this teal planter. You are going to want to decide where you place your corners that meet in a triangle. So on this one, I'll be doing them, a corner will like start here and then end at this double crochet, so these 2 outside double crochets. And you could put stitch marker here if you want, so I would be putting it here and here. And since I'm like in the middle of a corner right here, I'm just gonna slip stitch to the start of this corner here. So I'm here and I'm gonna slip stitch until I get here, which will be the start of my first corner. I'm gonna slip stitch into the stitch and into this next double crochet. I'm gonna slip stitch into the chain 1 space. I'm gonna slip stitch into these 3 double crochets. Oops. Oops. I'm gonna slip stitch into this chain 1 space. And finally, I'm going to slip stitch into this, which will be where I start my corner. So I'll have this, I'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stitches between my corner. You could space them further if you wanted. So I'm going to chain 7, 2, 3, 7. Then I'm going to put a stitch marker into the 7th chain. There's my stitch marker. And now I'm going to chain 35. So I'll meet you after 35. We're going to place a stitch marker after chaining 35. And now we're going to chain 35 more. And then I'll meet you after that. Okay, I've chained 35 more, and you can see we've got 2 stitch markers here. Now, in the second chain from my hook, I will make 2 single crochets. 1, 2. And from here on out, I will make 2 single crochets in each chain stitch until I reach the first stitch marker. 1, 2, and you can already see it starting to curl up, so it'll give us like a cute curly top. I've done this 2 single crochet in each stitch until reaching the first stitch marker, and then I will go ahead and remove that stitch marker. And now all I'll be doing is slip stitching into each chain stitch. So here's a slip stitch. Here's another slip stitch. Here's another slip stitch. And keep going until you reach this stitch marker. Once you've reached this stitch marker, you'll want to chain 7. 1, 2, 7. And then you'll want to slip stitch wherever you're placing yours. I'm doing it here into the top of this double crochet. And now we can see what this will look like in the pot. Okay, so this is what this corner spacing will look like in the pot. I think that's pretty cute. And now we're going to just be slip stitching until we get here to start the next corner. So I'll slip stitch across here until I get there. So I'm going to slip stitch into this chain space. I'm going to slip stitch into these 3 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, and then I'm going to slip stitch into this chain space, slip stitch into this double crochet, and this is where I will start my corner by chaining 7, and then I'll be placing the stitch marker and repeating the process for this one. I'll meet you back for the fourth one. Okay, you can see I've done the chain for my fourth corner, and now I've got these laying how I want them to lay. And now to account for how the top part twists, I'm just going to go ahead and turn my chain 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm just gonna, go ahead and twist my chain a little because we're about to connect everything at the top. So now that you've twisted that, you can insert your hook into it and grab the nearest corner. And then just insert your hook into the top part of this. You can really insert it wherever, and we're just going to do a slip stitch. And then we're going to grab the next corner piece and do the same thing around. So here is, and I like to go through at least 2 loops when I do this. There we go. Slip stitch. And grab your final one. And slip stitch into that. And now let's go to our empty chain and slip stitch into the first one. And now you want to chain 20, or really however long you're going to want the top loop to be, but I'm going to chain 20 and meet you back. And now I've chained 20, so now I'm just gonna jam my hook through some stuff on this one and do a slip stitch. Okay, I'm gonna turn, and then I'm just gonna start slip stitching back down this chain. So there's a slip stitch. Okay, I'll meet you back once we've slip stitched almost all the way down. I'm just gonna slip stitch into the last 2 chains. Okay, and now you can see our twisted chain here. What I'm gonna do is just start from the bottom and see how it is twisted, and just slowly go to the top, because I do want it to have some twist in it when we start single crocheting. So I think if it's like this, and then I just go ahead and start single crocheting into the first one, it should look pretty good. So I'm going to make 2 single crochets into each chain stitch until we get to the first stitch marker, just like we did on the other 3 corners. Occasionally when you're working these, you'll just want to go ahead and help that chain twist the right way, so just twist it around like that and then bring your yarn to the side. So I'll show you that again. You see you're working and you can tell it's wanting to twist, so I just go ahead and twist it under and then bring the working stuff through, and you can see that I've twisted it. I might want to twist it one more time. And then I'm almost to the stitch marker. Okay, I've reached the stitch marker, I'm going to take that out, and now I can just start slip stitching down the chain until we get to the next stitch marker. I've reached my next stitch marker, take that out, chain 7, 1, 2, 7, and now slip stitch into the top of this double crochet. Oops, that's the wrong one. There we go. And now you will fasten off and leave a long tail so that we can weave it all the way to the bottom, because we can use that to doubly secure our tassel. Now pull it through, and I'll show you what it looks like right now. Here's how it looks right now. Pretty cute. And now you could skip to the tassel part, or you can see for variation 1, which will be shorter and have a different accent on the top. On this one, I'll actually be spacing my little corner triangles a little further apart, so instead of the double crochet, I'm going to start it from this chain 1 space. And like I said, this is very customizable and up to you, but they'll be from these chain 1 spaces. So I'm going to slip stitch until I get to that. So there's a slip stitch, here's another one, slip stitch into that chain space, then I'm going to slip stitch across these 3 double crochets, 1, 2, 3, and then I'm going to slip stitch into the chain space, and then this is where I'm going to start my corner, so you will chain 7 here, and then you'll place a stitch marker, and then you will chain 19, place another stitch marker, and then you will chain 25. Next, you're going to slip stitch into the second chain from your hook. You're going to slip stitch into the next chain, and slip stitch into one more. Then you will chain 2, 1, 2, and slip stitch into the same stitch. Now you're going to slip stitch into the next 3 chain stitches. 1, 2, 3. Now you're going to chain 2, 1, 2, and you're going to slip stitch into the same chain stitch. And then you'll repeat this process until you get to the first stitch marker, and that creates this little accent at the top. Once you get to this stitch marker, you'll just keep slip stitching until this one. You'll do your chain 7, and then you'll slip stitch into this chain 1 space. And then once you do your 4th one, it'll be similar to the first variation I showed you. For the tassel, you'll be cutting strands of yarn double the length you want your tassel to be. On these big ones here, I cut the yarn 12 inches for a 6-inch tassel. Here I'll be cutting them 7 inches long for a 3.5-inch tassel length. I have 4 groups of 4 strands, and now we're gonna make the tassel. This is a very easy way to do it. You wanna fold your strands like this, and then put this one like that. Do the same for these 2. Now you'll have them like this, and I'm gonna flip this one over like this, flip it over this way. So you'll want this set up here, and then you put these through here and put these through here. So I'm going to start at the bottom, pull this through there. Okay, now I'm going to pull these guys through this loop. Now I'm going to tighten everything up slowly. This is just a very easy way to make a tassel. Before attaching your tassel, you'll want to weave this top loose end down to the bottom. I'll show you a little bit of how I do that. So here it is. I'm gonna start here, and I'm gonna just go down through these double crochets. Just like this. Then I'm gonna go down this little block of double crochets. So yeah, just keep going until this long loose end is all the way to your center bottom. You should now have your 2 loose ends at the bottom of your work in the center, and now we're going to attach this. I like to have the loose ends on opposite sides, and then I like to go through 2 of these like bumps on here. So here I'm going through 1 bump, and then I'm just gonna go through a second bump, and that's with 1 loose end, and then I want to go through the other 2 bumps with my other loose yarn. So here I've attached my other loose yarn, and now I'm just going to go through a bump. And I'm going to go through this bump that we haven't gone through yet. Okay, and now we can tighten both of these up, and then we can put them back through to the inside of the work. You can do that on both of your loose ends, and then we can tie. So you can see I have both of my loose ends on the inside of the work, like this, and now I'm gonna tie a few knots. And we're almost done. Now I'm gonna bring both of these straight through the center of the tassel as well. We have our 2 loose threads out. Let's put the tassel threads over. Get it all sorted out. Okay, now we can start wrapping these around. So that we get this like cute head up here. Just wrap them around as many times as you want, or knots. Then you can put this back on your darning needle, go through the center, and weave it around your center stitches a few more times. I'm going to do that. I'm going to cut this. And now you can just trim your tassel up. I'm going to do that real quick. And here is our finished little hanger for our plants. This video was really brought to you by this little guy. Look at some of the messes he's been getting into. So I'm hanging up all of my plants. If you want to give him some hearts in the comments, I would love that. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, please ask me in the comments. I'd be happy to answer them. Bye.